So, guys, if you look at this Eagles defense closely, you will find two positions that are quietly holding this team back from being truly unstoppable. Howie Roseman has the cap space, he has the draft capital, and according to NFL insider Chase Sr., there are some seriously underrated names available on the trade market that fit exactly what Philly needs. So, I am breaking down 5 realistic trade targets position by position, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly where this roster needs to go. What's up, Birds Gang? Welcome to NFL Playbook Eagles. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, the Eagles defense last year was honestly one of the most dominant units we have seen in recent memory, but there are 2 spots on this roster that are not where they need to be: pass rush and safety. And look, the pass rush is good. I'm not saying it is bad, but good is not good enough when you are trying to win a Super Bowl. Think about the teams that have won championships recently. They all had at least one truly elite, dominant pass rusher who could just take over a game by himself. Right now, the Eagles have Jonathan Greenard, Jalix Hunt, and Nolan Smith, and that group is solid, but it is not yet at that championship level. And the safety room right now has some serious question marks that could get exposed against the right offense. So today I want to walk you through 5 players who are actually available on the trade market, guys who make financial sense, scheme sense, and honestly just make this Eagles roster scarier than it already is. Let's start with the pass rush because this is where I think Howie Roseman needs to make a move first. The first name I want to bring up is Josh Sweat. Now this is a guy who has history with this organization, history with this scheme, and right now he is sitting in Arizona not exactly thrilled about his situation out there. He signed with the Cardinals for around $19 million per year, and a big reason he went there was Jonathan Gannon. He had a career year under Jonathan Gannon back in 2022, 11 sacks, and that is what drove that deal. But Jonathan Gannon got fired, and ever since then, Josh Sweat has kind of been a ghost throughout the spring. You know, when a player goes quiet like that during the offseason, it usually means something is off. The relationship with the organization, the comfort level, something is just not right. And that is exactly the kind of situation Howie Roseman has historically taken advantage of. Here is what makes this interesting from a financial standpoint. Josh Sweat has 3 years left on his contract, but there is no guaranteed money after 2026. That is massive for any team thinking about acquiring him. If the Eagles made this move, they could bring him in, let him play out 2026, and then they are not on the hook for anything beyond that year. His 2026 cap hit, if he gets traded, is $12.5 million. For a player of his caliber, honestly, that is very doable. Look at what he did in 2025. 12 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. He was a legitimate force on that Arizona defense. He had 8 sacks in 2024, 6.5 in 2023, and 11 under Jonathan Gannon in 2022. He turned 29 in March. He has only missed 5 games since entering the league, and yeah, there were some red flags early about a knee injury from high school. But he has been one of the more durable edge rushers in this league right now. The familiarity with the organization, the affordable contract window, and the production, it all lines up. This one honestly feels like it could happen. And then if Howie Roseman really wants to go nuclear on this pass rush position, and I mean truly go all in, the name that comes up is Maxx Crosby. Look, there have been reports that the Eagles' interest in Maxx Crosby is about as serious as it gets, and you can see why. Think about what the Rams just did trading for Myles Garrett. Philadelphia could make that same kind of splash with Crosby and completely transform this defense from being good to being elite. Crosby is not just a pass rusher, he is one of the best run stuffers in the entire league. The way he plays the game, the way he carries himself, his motor, his relentless approach to every single snap, he was honestly built to play in Philadelphia. He even said it himself after the Raiders played at Lincoln Financial. He talked about how that environment is exactly what you play football for. That kind of mentality fits perfectly in Philly. Now, yes, he had a full meniscus repair last year and played in 15 games, but he still put up 10 sacks. 7.5 sacks in 12 games in 2024. When he is fully healthy and at his peak, 14.5 sacks in 2023, 12.5 in 2022, he is one of the top pass rushers in football. And honestly, the numbers against the run are where he truly separates himself from everyone else. 90 tackles for loss compared to 54 for Nick Bosa over the last 4 years. 107 quarterback hits, 44.5 sacks, 282 pressures. That is just relentless, consistent, dominant production week after week. Now, if the Eagles want a more affordable option at edge rusher, someone where the trade compensation and contract would be a little easier to manage, Alex Highsmith of the Pittsburgh Steelers is a name worth watching closely. The Steelers have already signed Nick Herbig and gave TJ Watt a massive extension, so they have a lot of money tied up at that position already. Highsmith could realistically be available. Pittsburgh has no plans to pay him long term. He was a 3rd-round pick out of Charlotte back in 2020, a small school guy who has turned into a really productive and reliable player at the NFL level. 6'2", 45 career sacks, 64 tackles for loss, played in 90 games with 79 starts. He can drop into coverage, he can play against the run at a high level, and he is honestly one of the most underrated edge rushers in this entire league. Nobody really talks about him the way they should. The production has been consistent, and the fit schematically makes a lot of sense for what Philadelphia wants to do on that defensive front. Now, let's shift over to safety because this is honestly where I think the Eagles have their most glaring need right now. Andrew Bakuba is going into year 2 and there's still a real question mark there. I thought he did some solid things as a rookie. I am not completely down on him, but you are not going to win a Super Bowl counting on a second-year safety to be a cornerstone piece. And then you have Marcus Epps alongside him, who is a Vic Fangio guy, but is by no means an elite player at this point in his career. So, if Howie Roseman believes this safety room could genuinely hold this team back from a Super Bowl, he needs to act, and there are 2 really interesting names available right now. The first safety I want to bring up is Grant Delpit of the Cleveland Browns. Former second-round pick out of LSU, ran in the 440s coming out of college. He did pop his Achilles going into his rookie year, which was a really tough break early in his career, but since then, he has been a very consistent and reliable player under defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. His best year was probably 2022, 105 tackles, 10 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, 4 tackles for loss. For the most part, he has stayed healthy since that Achilles injury, and he brings real value against the run. Now, the coverage grades at PFF last year were not elite, I will be honest about that, but here is the thing. You put Grant Delpit behind this Eagles defensive line, behind this linebacking room, behind Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean at corner, and he does not have to be a superstar back there. He just has to be reliable, disciplined, and smart with the football, and he has shown throughout his career that he can absolutely do that. But if the Eagles want the most accomplished safety available on the trade market, the name is Jessie Bates of the Atlanta Falcons. And look, for a long time, Jessie Bates has been one of the best safeties in this entire league. He plays that free safety role, that true center field type who can patrol the back end and make plays all over the field. The pass breakup numbers over the last 4 years, 8, 11, 10, 6, that is elite level consistency at that position. He has been a sure-handed tackler, a great leader in the locker room, and he is solid against the run too. Now, his coverage grade last year was not where it has been historically, I will give you that, but that Falcons defense was not exactly putting him in position to succeed either. The pass rush around him was inconsistent and the scheme did him no favors. You bring Jessie Bates to Philadelphia, surround him with the elite talent this Eagles defense already has. And I genuinely think you see a bounce-back year from one of the better safeties this league has seen over the last several years. So, there you have it, guys. 5 realistic trade targets for this Eagles roster. 2 pass rushers who could push this defense from good to truly dominant, 1 more affordable option at edge that nobody's really talking about, and 2 safeties who could immediately solve the biggest question mark on this entire team. Howie Roseman has the tools to make any one of these moves happen. The cap space is there, the draft capital is there, and the need is very real. The question is just which direction he decides to go. Which one of these 5 players do you want to see in Midnight Green this season? Drop your answer in the comments below. I want to know exactly what Eagles Nation is thinking. This is Eagle Al, and I am out. Birds Gang.